We're going to definitely be incorporating some of these videos during the nighttime, just stuff that I know is really important for us to really think on. And it kind of gives us, again, it sets the pace for a lot of our future projections and just letting us know the possibilities. And as I talked about today in redesigning the idea of the resistance and what we do, I talked about also helping people more with their free energy projects and projects that are actually going to help the earth in multiple ways. And so a major part of that is going to be linking up with various individuals that I know that are working on projects that may not be completely in the know about exactly what it entails to get that project to a level where it's going to really be able to assist humanity. In addition to that, because we've basically developed an entire shield at the resistance, we want to help those individuals even from multiple levels be able to stay shielded or protected, if you want to use that term, as they go through with finishing their plans. And so we're going to be linking up with some people. I even got an email tonight from a good friend of mine asking if we would link up with some individuals that are pushing some information forth that's really, really heavy about the actual political and not just the political, but also the spiritual, mainly the spiritual control and the reality. And of course, that would be the Jesuit faction. So you'll see a lot more of that coming in the future as far as us getting involved in projects to get full disclosure, as we call it, going on. So that way everyone can get closer to wholeness. Because we want people to start benefiting off of this. Remember, the entire process is that you realize what's going on, and then you start doing preemptive things like understanding, getting yourself together, cleaning yourself out, and then once you get yourself up to a certain degree of harmonics and frequency, then you can start going out and immediately assisting others in getting that same level of expansion. So also tonight, if you do want to ask a question, you can do so within either this chat box in the live stream, or you can also do so in the Skype, which I'm actually online right now with in real time. Probably by tomorrow, we'll have that live chat piped into this, although sometimes it does cause some slight bandwidth issues, but we'll give it a shot. And this way, if someone wants to talk verbally live, then they can do so. Maybe they want to give some testimonials about how they feel in the cleanse right now, or ask questions live and get some pointers about how to continue to expand. I did go ahead and transfer that video over, so let me go ahead and put it over there. But before I do that, let me just instruct everyone to what they need to be doing today. Of course, we have, of course, those that are on step 1 or the pre-cleanse, and they're on day 2 of the pre-cleanse. And so if that is the case with you, you're on day 2 of the pre-cleanse. Of course, today, during the day, you should have backed down your meals to half. You definitely need to make sure you're getting at least 6 to 8 glasses, as much water as you can get in there as possible, because you're using the toxin absorber or the psyllium holes. So as much water as that has, the more it has to actually expand. So and also you need to make sure you're getting at least 6 to 8, because that stuff is going to suck up a lot of the water and things in your system. So it needs a lot of water to scrub properly. You also should have figured out your digestive stimulator number by now. And for those who are not aware completely of what that is, that's basically how many of the digestive stimulator pills that you need to take in order to have 2 to 3 regular bowel movements. Generally, most people need to take around 2 to 3. And again, if you're having an extreme situation with moving your bowels, then you may get up to 10. And then some people who already go regularly may be only needing to use 1. But you need to now have your number at least between today and tomorrow. So that way, when you get later on the cleanse, you'll see in the package it just says take your number of digestive stimulators, and that will mean the number that you've already figured out. So to also bring a great deal of clarity to, and we're talking about, again, the pre-cleanse of what you need to do first between the toxin absorber and the digestive stimulator, is that at least 2 hours before, or excuse me, at least 2 hours after the digestive stimulator. So 2 hours after the digestive stimulator in the evening is when you're going to take your toxin absorber if you're on the pre-cleanse. So you're going to get your apple juice, and 2 hours after the digestive stimulator, probably that's going to be around right before you go to bed, you're going to go ahead and take the toxin absorber. So that's all that needs to be said about this in order to not confuse it. Now, for those that are on what is day day 5 of the cleanse itself, then they're going to be doing the same thing they did yesterday, which is, of course, taking the toxin absorber packets every 3 hours, starting from the time that you wake up in the morning. We talked about how it would be really easy if you can set something like a timer. iPhone has one, or you can go old school with a timer every 3 hours. Each time it beeps, you set it 3 hours again. Do what you need to do as far as taking your toxin absorber pack and keep moving through the day, because it's easy to forget those, and then you start backing up, or you start not taking some and then taking others, and you just really want to stay with the instructions here. And also before bed, 2 hours after the last toxin absorber again. So when you take that last toxin absorber at night, you're supposed to have 5 during the day, 5 packages during the day. 2 hours after that last package, you're going to go ahead and take your digestive stimulator number. So again, it's really easy and straightforward. Everything is labeled properly. But if you happen to get lost at any point, please refer to your manual. All the information is there, and it's really straightforward. So let me go ahead and get this movie queued up. Of course, what we do at night is we're really brief as far as how much time we're spending on the computer. Of course, in the following nights, you'll have a lot more to work with at night, especially with your new breathing techniques, your crystal meditation. Tomorrow, we're going to talk salt. And then the next day, we're going to talk frequency. So there's a lot of stuff that we have lined up for these 9 days that are coming up. So just like I said, keep expanding with it, because we're going to be introducing everything that's necessary to expand mentally, spiritually, physically. So hold on. Also, since I have this new audio setup, it's really a lot more awesome, because it gives me the mobility that I need to really move around this area. And I did get the go ahead to turn the entire front room into a studio, so everyone may be seeing green screen next, which is, of course, an awesome effect, especially when you're displaying information. Okay, great, here we go. All right, let me just cue this up very briefly, take a moment. And what I'm actually going to show is that video that I was talking about earlier today, the gentleman that was on TED Talk, and what he was discussing is a new grid. And the guy's name is Justin Hall, and he's talking about this free energy grid. And it's just interesting to hear exactly how much people are progressing in private industry, or basically when people get together and say, I believe that we can create something like this, what's in our way from creating something like this? And then they start to collaborate on projects that get them closer to developing that. So I wanted to show this video to you so that you have an opportunity to realize that there's only a few things that are still in the way of humanity's progress. And once those things move out of the way, then immediately we have a world that is capable of producing the ideas that are necessary to regenerate our environment. As I spoke about earlier, you're really dealing with individuals that will, as far as the controllers are concerned, that are looking at the darker side of the reality, meaning they're looking at the reality actually going through its death process. In their mind state, or in their lower chakras, they see lower netherworld projections. So that's pretty much what's been purveying everything. That's why you have so many scary movies and so many movies where the good people, get done wrong, and there's all sorts of treachery and thievery. And the reason why you get that is because they have a morbid idea, as a Gothic idea or dark idea of where they want the world to go. And this, to them, fulfills prophecies of an entity that they say they interfaced with that told them that they needed to purge the world. And so they're on one of those. So meanwhile, while you have the ones with the psychological problems kind of guiding the dimension somewhat, now you'll see the reins be taken back. Okay, excuse me. Exactly, okay. I was just making sure you guys weren't getting this sound feed while I was doing this. But you'll see the reins taken back by humanity, and you'll actually see the brilliant minds come into the world that have always been here, that are able to emancipate the reality like we need to have the reality emancipated. Here's another thing. There's a great fear And we want to clarify things because there's a great fear that people have with if somehow they are free from their government and the police and all these different structures that have been set up. They imagine that the world will go into total chaos and hysteria. And actually, if you study, especially the ancient knowledge of order out of chaos, you'll actually see that the goal is for them to cause the chaos and then to create rules, laws, and orders in order to govern the chaos. But the goal is to keep it going. And this is because generally, when you put people in an abundant environment like this, it's very difficult to get them to go into chaos because there's such an abundance of, even if you're talking about gems, jewels, silver, gold, diamonds, etc., there are vaults and vaults full of this stuff. And if you understand how the original people of this planet, especially the humanoid people, treated this planet, they could project a great deal of what they wanted to do. So actually holding on to something and traveling around with it was seen as is a little silly because, after all, to project a kingdom and live in it versus build an entire one and do all the karmic things that are necessary on the physical plane to do it was not even practical. So what you're actually looking at is a great deal of energy waste. And we talked about that today. It's the fat, or the symbol of the fat of the reality, which is basically the excess that could be utilized in other places. And this also manifests in our reality with individuals that are holding millions of dollars or even more in money, because money really has no value, worth of resources, while we have one part of the world that actually needs those resources to be regenerated. So even in countries like Africa, and mostly Africa, you'll see that a lot of the resources have been extracted from that country a long time ago, and those resources are what built other countries. So because of that, you find countries like Africa in an extremely impoverished condition, and the land itself needing to be nurtured so that it can bear and bear forth again abundance and heal itself. So we have to see Earth also as a living organism. It is a living organism, so that means it does have pain. So every time they drop a bomb, or every time they do things in the different chakra centers of our consciousness that equal them being inverted or turned upside down, basically opposite to, well, actually non-harmonic to where we're supposed to be, that's the correct term, then you can imagine what the planet is experiencing. And that's also called the birth pains, because such things generally don't take place until the matrix itself has to expand, meaning generally you don't get people maxing out the actual possibilities of the matrix and then feeling like that they want to get out until it's time for the emancipation to take place. The other thing that's also very interesting, which is a comment that I made the other day, is that we haven't even really understood how it is to be humans, and now we want to be gods. We need to realize that there's still a lot here on Earth that we actually need to learn and need to understand how it functions before we start to progress into these higher frequencies, higher wavelengths, etc. And in fact, it's kind of contingent upon us stepping into those frequencies and wavelengths. So do realize that this thing is tied in a way where you could not cheat it if you wanted to, meaning that the universe is what's really doing all the balancing. And sometimes it tests, in the old sense, the courage of an individual, but in the new sense, it may test your compassion. So remember, each time you move through a chakra, it's not always testing whether you're going to be the one that is going to be the warrior in the situation. In many chakras, you'll be dealing with much higher senses, such as compassion and being able to distribute the goods that have been committed to your charge. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and show this video, and then I'm of course, say goodnight to everyone, and then that's going to be it for today. But I was sent this by a good friend of mine, Larry Solomon, and it definitely got me up really good this morning. And of course, I wanted to let everyone know another easy way to start clearing your bowels if you're having problems with the digestive stimulator, or even if you're not, is keeping a glass of room temperature water on the side of your bed, and then in the morning drinking that glass of water, and then you'll notice that your bowels will flush out if you drink it the moment that you wake up. And this is why when you look into the wild, you'll always see that the first thing that an animal generally does in the morning is it goes and gets water, and then it goes and uses the restroom. So there's this thing, because we are spirits and we're inside of bodies that are very complex, but bodies that are in fact of flesh, that the body, if allowed to do what it wants to do, eat what it wants to eat, will indeed turn into what we could ever idolize as being a beast. And to understand your etheric nature, of course, we'll have to understand the sea, the ocean, and what we call space, etc., where spirits come from. But that's another conversation which we started at least a week ago, and we'll be continuing, of course, in the future weeks. But again, to understand that you're a spirit inside of a physical body, but this physical body would be just like any other, if you want to call it an animal that you really would love, meaning that there's a lot of very large mammals and very complex mammals and even reptiles, etc., that you're like, man, that I have a lot what is the word I'm looking for? I admire a lot this particular animal because it has this kind of ability and that kind of ability. Okay, so what you'll see is that there is a level of admiration. Now, back in the old days, they used to always say that you should treat your camel or your horse as the same as you because it's what you're riding on. So if for some reason that you don't have a horse in the morning because you chose not to feed it and take care of it, then you won't be going anywhere. And because that's such a major part of everything that you have going on in your life, back in the old days, of course, you made sure that you took care of the animal, you fed it the best stock as possible, etc. Now, here in the future, it's kind of manifested somewhat as cars, but it's a lot more lazier, as of course, the tune in the environment tends to be, where it's completely serving us, so that way we don't have to get out and go and do anything and build up a lot of frequency and a lot of intention, ambition, etc. So remember, with how the whole car parody really works is that now you can go get service, but sometimes you can even let the car go and not even have to get service. Or if it needs to get service, it's like once every 3 months. You just leave it there. You go get it. You can give you a rental. You go and do what you want to do. And then every day, maybe you pump some gas. That's as much as you do. So, of course, this is a lot different if you have a camel. So see also the exchange for things, though, because now that we have these cars, we also have greenhouse gases or carcinogens, et cetera, whatever you want to call them, which did not exist even only 150 years ago. So also expect your world to be changing based on even the cars that we're driving. And that's kind of fitting, though, because the word car is an anagram for the word ark, if you understand just the lure behind the etymology and what's really going on the planet. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have on that subject. And as you see, it's always bountiful, the knowledge and wisdom that we can produce, because we're pulling from an inexhaustible spring known as self, and also knowing that all is self, meaning that when you finally figure out what's completely going on here, you'll see that most of all, not most, but all of what you're viewing is different variations of who you are. In this reality, this external reality, not the internal reality, all of what you see in the external reality was pulled from the internal being. All the animals that you see here can be extracted from the DNA. Even a genetic scientist could easily extract the DNA of a cow from us and then manifest that cow here into the planet through Petri, whatever you want to call it. And then us looking at that cow and even admiring that cow is only us just admiring another part of ourselves. But when we would bow down to something that we have put in front of us, it means that we're also bowing down to ourselves. And this, in fact, also puts us in a stage of stasis, meaning that how well does it work for you to sit and bow down to yourself all day? Because that's really what's happening when there's any kind of worship, or what I call worship, going on. So again, today's definitely about the cleanse, so we don't want to get too much into the occult knowledge and the spiritual knowledge from a level of from the occult perspective. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the video and let everyone know what's up with the free energy. Okay, there we have it. So it's obvious that there's definitely some free energy on the wing for humanity. It's just about making sure those kind of people definitely get the exposure that is necessary for their information to get out, and then also spreading that idea more to other individuals and letting them see the quantum effect of things, meaning looking deeper into how things function, and also our visibility to how we understand, or I say understand, how things work. And so that's going to do it for tonight. We definitely covered quite a few things. We're going to be up tomorrow morning, of course, at 9 o'clock, airing again for day 3. And of course, we're just going to keep picking this thing up. Tomorrow, we're going to get on the salt. And I just wanted to say wholeness and balanced vibrations to everyone. Have a great evening. And actually, before I do hang up, I'm not sure if anyone put any questions in after the movie. So I'm just going to hold for a quick second to allow anyone to ask a question. And of course, you can do so by typing in the virtual cleanse chat room. So I'll be standing by. Also, in the meantime, I want to say thank you to all the individuals that are participating, especially with each other. There's quite a bit of information that's been shared in the chat room itself, and individuals giving their opinions on things and also giving pointers to expanding with other things. So it's just amazing to see people connect and how well, when you're on that harmonic frequency and everyone's headed in the same direction, you get others that allow you to speed up in many ways. And also for those that may feel like they haven't been able to get through something, we find different solutions for how to break some of those walls down. So looks like everyone has their questions answered. So I'm going to go ahead and give this space for you to just get deeper into yourself. So we'll talk soon.